Welcome back to another episode of Casa de Confidence. If anything you should know about me is that you are always going to hear what's on my mind, because that's been maybe a gift or a fault of mine, is that I will always tell you what I'm thinking. And tonight, something happened. And it's one of these things that just kind of throws you, and it adds to the pile of crap that is happening in your life. And it's interesting how we may have things going on in our life, and people may not know and may not care, but sometimes the actions we take unwillingly have, a consequence, and a chain of events is set out. I am choosing to see the gift in this because there was something great that came off of tonight's circumstances. Without further ado, I will tell you that tonight someone called me an anti-Semite. And it is so hard for me to even say that, because if anything you should know about me is that I am incredibly proud to be an American. From a very early age, when my dad told me all about how wonderful the United States was. And from the first time that I was here, and I don't remember the first time I came to the States, I was 3 months old, but from the first memories that I have of being here as a baby, as a toddler, as a child, I've done nothing but really be so proud of this country. Later on, when I was in high school and I was incredibly involved in the church youth group, one of my favorite things was to learn about Judaism and the Old Testament, so much so that I wanted to go to high school in Israel. And I didn't do it because my dad didn't think it was safe. And it was in his deathbed that he said to me he was sorry and regretted that he kept me from doing that, kept me from living the dream of going to Israel at a young age to learn about all the things that I had read about in the Old Testament. So hearing tonight from someone that I respect that I am an American anti-Semite did not hit well. Specifically because, I think that what it cost this individual to say that to me is because I was speaking out against what I see happening in Florida. I was comparing the new Alligator Alley camp, whatever you want to call it. I was comparing it to Auschwitz. And trust me, I studied Auschwitz. I've heard firsthand from Holocaust survivors. When I was 25, I married my first husband. Well, I met him at 25 and married him at 29. And one of the things that I loved about this relationship with him is that he was Jewish, or he is Jewish, rather. I just got off the phone with him earlier, and we were talking about him leaving Israel to come back to the States. He was there for a wedding. And one of the things that we both agreed on is how much we do love Israel still. And I'm not here to politicize or talk about what's right or wrong on what is going on in the Middle East, because I can only speak about what's going on in my life today. And what is going on in my life is that I see families that are suffering. And my heart is compassionate against seeing people suffer, no matter where they are. And I know that I can't take away the suffering from people. But if I have a voice, I feel compelled to be able to use it. And I'm not going to be intimidated by people calling me names or making assumptions or speaking their mind. If anything, I do want to encourage people to speak their mind. We're living in a world in which things are getting crazy. And perhaps the craziness of this world is getting to you. And I am not going to tell you, you should be meditating more or, self-caring more, because I am not the self-care coach and I am not the meditation coach. I am only the person who is going to live by example. And if you ask me what I'm doing to help myself with my mental well-being, I will tell you. But for the most part, as a business coach, I am also going to run my business, and I'm going to do so in a way in which I am going to stand on the promise that I am going to be me, and I am going to speak out over the things that I know are hurting others. And the work that I continue to do will be work that will be there to support those that cannot be helped, but need the support, whether it be from my business or from the organizations that I support. So today, in speaking about all this, I wanted to share something that I wrote. And I included it in my book for so many different reasons, but mainly because when I was writing my book, I knew that there were so many incredible individuals that have impacted my life in such deep and meaningful ways that there is no way that I cannot allow anyone to not know them, because their legacy is incredible. The individuals that I talk about in my book are people that stood for what they believed, people who were compassionate, loving, and caring, and believed in making an impact in the world. And some of the people that I talk about in my book are still alive, but I'm sharing also the stories of those who have gone and who created a difference for me, and their legacy lives on. And for that reason, I want to share their stories. And perhaps this gives you a little glimpse into who I am. So today, I want to share the story of someone that I love. And it's going to be, well, it's 9 years, no, 8 years since she passed. But every single day, there's lessons that I hear, lessons that I embrace. So without further ado, let's talk about Mrs. A. It is fair to say that writing a book about confidence would not be complete without sharing the lessons I learned from the late Mrs. A. From the first moment I met her, her joy for life, sunny outlook, and love for others endeared myself in my heart. When you looked at her, you couldn't think but of being epitome of confidence. Mrs. A, or the Hat Lady, as many like to call her, was my ex-husband's mom. It has been a few years since she left this world, but the life lessons learned from her will live with me forever. I will forever refer to her here as the cat. That's the Hat Lady. I know she would be tickled pink by that title. When I first met the Hat Lady at her home, I don't recall where we were headed. All I remember is that I was wearing a short denim miniskirt and a vest to match. I also recall that I debated the appropriate outfit to wear. At the time, I was incredibly nervous. For the last time I had met a boyfriend's mom, things had not turned out well. Long story short, my first boyfriend's mom seemed to like me, only to find out that she was appalled by the idea of her son dating a Hispanic girl. I was also told that a Jewish mom was more problematic to please. I allowed others' inputs to shape my thoughts, which led to generalization, more stress, and an overwhelmed spirit. For this reason, the prospect of meeting the Hat Lady terrified me. As I pulled up into a meticulously manicured lawn, I noted how the house was not the largest or fanciest in the block. I was, however, taken by how impeccably it was kept. I soon learned the same order extended to the inside of the home. I was fascinated by the large white sofa that immediately greeted me upon entering. My first thought was, oh, this is one of those homes where you don't sit on the fancy furniture. How wrong was I? Like the owner, the sofa was elegant yet comfortable, comfortable to sit on. It was inviting and timeless. It had room for many, and it gave a great first impression. When I first met the hat lady, I was immediately drawn to her. She was a hugger. I remember her tiny, frail, yet strong embrace to this day. The day she came into my life, I had just turned 25. The last time we spoke was a few months before she passed. I was 46 and had been divorced from her son for almost 6 years. Throughout the time I knew her, the lessons of confidence I gained from her are too many to fit in one chapter. Plus, she encouraged me to go back to yoga despite a terribly first impression. I'll talk about that experience more in a later chapter. The Hat Lady was born in Brooklyn, New York, but grew up in the heyday of Miami Beach. I have no doubt that she must have been the basis of the main character of the TV show The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. No matter the occasion, she would always be found wearing the perfect outfit to be from head to toe. She also had a collection of thrift store and dollar store accessories. She loved a good bargain and was never afraid to tell you how much of a deal she found. She not only loved wearing hats, but also took pride in always wearing them with the right ensemble and dutifully eccentric glasses. But my hat lady was more than just a perfectly matched wardrobe person. Inside was an educator, a volunteer, mother and wife, and a generous heart, a generous, kind heart. Hard work and sound investments in her life afforded her a life solely dedicated to comfort, but a life in which each day she contributed to people around her. There was one time we were out during the holiday season, and an employee at a store chirped up and wished her Merry Christmas. She returned the greeting, and as I watched, she proceeded to have a conversation with the woman. And I remember during the conversation, the woman talking about her family, her children, and how she was working overtime so her family could have a good Christmas. At the end of the conversation, I noticed her slip the woman some money and told her Merry Christmas. I don't know how much money it was, but I did come to realize that this would be the first of many times that I would see her give to another person that she had only known for a fleeting moment. This imparted a lesson of generosity to 20-something me. Another lesson came from that first interaction as well. When we left the store, I asked her how she felt about people wishing her Merry Christmas. It must be upsetting when people just assume you're Christian. Is there a reason you didn't correct her? I asked. She looked at me, removed her sunglasses, and said, Julie, wishing me Merry Christmas is just her wishing me well in joy of the season. In reflection, this was a lesson of acceptance. Wishing someone well, no matter how it came, was an act of kindness. And the hat lady responded in a way that multiplied that kindness rather than snuffing it out with correcting her. Like many Jewish people, she experienced the share of prejudice that comes with being a Jew. This didn't make her bitter. On the contrary, she resolved to fight for those who didn't have a voice. She did so. She knew that her education and hard work had afforded her the privileges and opportunities that others didn't have. She didn't gain her confidence from the lack of fear, but despite the fear. Her beliefs and convictions outweighed her fears and doubts. I know that many of us love to live in the comfort of our realities. Many of us expect that the time of fighting for what is right up to someone else who is more intelligent, more courageous, or well spoken. However, taking a leap of faith to speak up, advocate, fight for social justice like the Hat Lady did is something that we can all do. Big gestures and service are important, but the mundane, perhaps inconsequential things that have most impact. The Hat Lady understood that giving to others in their time of need was the right thing to do, that brightening someone else's day was often the brightest part of that person's day, and that speaking up for those who lived in fear of doing it themselves was key. She thrust herself into discomfort for what she believed and consistently believed in. This sometimes made her the object of rude opinions and others, and even disappointing from the others she loved. In learning confidence from her, I realized that you must ask, why not me? Asking these questions allows you to find the courage and bright side of the circumstances. The important thing is that you consistently step out to do what your heart tells you is correct and what you know you must do. The second part of this question is how. My Hat Lady was able to give freely to those in need and to give time to organizations that needed it. She had a beautiful home, well thought out investments, and rental properties. How was she able to attain this freedom to live and go give? She did so by setting goals that didn't sacrifice her values and created a plan to realize those goals. Her values were demonstrated in how she treated her tenants, valuing them over the money she got from rent. She always got her tenants' children's gifts at the holidays and didn't increase rent when every other apartment was doing so. She taught me that with every focus on your goals aligned with your values and a proper action plan, you would be able to live and give abundantly. In chapter 3, I spoke about building intentionality with who you are and who you want to become. Intentionality for the Hat Lady was demonstrated by her consistency in all she did. In the 20 years I knew her, I learned to believe that if you wanted something, worked hard for it, and were willing to fail, good things happen. The Hat Lady also helped me create the mentality that age doesn't define you. Others' opinions don't represent you either. What you choose to see in the mirror, who you choose to be, and how you choose to show up is your choice and ultimately what gives you the gift of confidence. During the past years since COVID-19 pandemic started, it's been my privilege to work with women from all walks of life. In some days, the global crisis has made many of us realign our goals and priorities. I see many women wanting more. They want to matter. They want to jump into and start to grow a business. The first obstacle I see women face and work at overcoming is listening to the voice that says that you can do something. Perhaps they want to make a change and do something different, or possibly do something greater with what they have already started. I love watching the ember of possibility begin to burn in women's heart and transition into small flame of purpose. These women take the leap forward, but then start to transition to struggle of prioritizing their goals properly. While in corporate America, I learned the importance of strategic planning and goal setting. I think and hope that you may also be a goal setter in your life or business. The problem I see too often is that goals are set arbitrarily, that it sets you up for failure. This causes you not to progress. and you begin to second guess or doubt. If you're out to chase and fulfill your dreams, this doubt slowly chips away at your confidence. It's hard to accomplish a goal when they're not aligned with what you feel is essential and a priority in your life. When you set out to achieve goals and miss the mark, mainly because your goals were not aligned with your values, you're in a state of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when you act differently from what you believe. An example of cognitive dissonance in my life was when I would talk about how important self care was for me, yet I never prioritized it by going to bed early. On my journey to health, I would always say how essential good health was for me, yet I didn't prioritize exercise for many years. This cognitive dissonance made me think of myself as a fraud, which in turn made me feel bad. The feelings of unworthiness I felt led me to distract myself with food. I would overeat to soothe my feelings. Then I would feel unhealthy and unmotivated to exercise. Then the cycle started all over again. As time passed on my journey to health, I realized that I needed to learn what made people like the Hat Lady successful at being healthy and fit. When setting a goal, I started to see that she aligned her daily actions to include what made working toward this goal a priority. I soon noticed that it was the same thing that I did when I set out to accomplish business goals at my corporate career. For instance, if I was developing a new line of business for a new market, my daily and weekly tasks went on to support accomplishing that goal. I soon saw how this practice needed to be translated into my own entrepreneurial journey. The next step was to also teach this to my clients. Most of the time, my clients lack confidence in themselves when it comes to their business because they aren't hitting the goals they set them for themselves daily, weekly, monthly, and in some cases, yearly. Perhaps as you read or listen to this, you're realizing that your goals, you don't daily align your tasks to what you are trying to accomplish. You're not feeling a bit of a fraud. Don't sweat it. It's okay to feel a fraud sometimes. Now that you discover, you need to act to move past that feeling. It's normal to feel in a certain way, but what trips you up is to not acknowledging that you're feeling that and trying to squelch those emotions. I was coaching a new client who has been super motivated to launch her business. On the day of our conversation, she was feeling down because she had not accomplished what she'd set out to do. The problem for her was not that she didn't have goals for herself and her emerging business. The issue came from her not having specific goals. I want a website. It's a nice thought. I want to launch my website by the end of the month is better. Now, a lot of things that we do every day in life need to be adjusted. In your journey to confidence, I want you to think about the Hat Lady and know your values. The Hat Lady was driven by her values, and it led her to success in teaching, volunteering, and in her ability to give others selflessly. Take a moment to make sure your values are what drives you. Take a moment to make sure your values are something that you know. Focus on self-discipline. Self-discipline is a muscle that you build over time. Give yourself the grace to know that you're imperfect. Allow this knowledge to be present, and it will enable you to set goals and grow to learn them. Self-discipline means that you take care of prioritizing yourself, set boundaries, and connect to the goals and dreams you have for your life. As I read this, I realize that, just like that wonderful Hat Lady, I will never be always. I won't ever be understood 100%. And that's okay. Because all that really matters is that I know what's in my heart. And it's so easy to say and hard to do, because today my heart was broken. My heart was broken, and perhaps you may think maybe I have a thin skin. And by the way, as humans, we want to be liked, we want to belong. So maybe I need to work on getting a thicker skin. And what I need to remind me of is that when I am doing what I believe is the right thing, when I am living in my values, I will get criticism. But what matters is that I live in the knowledge that I am showing up in the way that I know means to me to be true me. Not everybody needs to understand you, like you, know you, and be in your journey. And like I've said so many times in this podcast, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And the people that came for a season were here to teach you. The people that came to your life for a season were the people that brought lessons to your life that maybe are lessons that you needed to really be able to review in order to get to the next level that you need to be in. And when people leave your life, wish them well. And know that if they're meant to come back to your life, it will happen. And it will happen because you are at a place in which you can be accepting not only of yourself, but to others. So be strong, no matter what comes your way. Cry if you need to, talk if you need to. But most importantly, be the person that stands up for you. Be the person that believes in you. Be the person that acknowledges you and that stands in the firm ground that no matter what you do and whether people believe in you or accept what you do, you are just where you're meant to be. So until next time, my friends, thank you for listening. And don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business. Push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.